The internet we know is just the surface. It is a tiny fraction of the whole. What lies beneath this familiar digital ocean? The dark web calls to the curious mind. It whispers of hidden secrets and untold stories. It promises access to the forbidden, the unseen. This allure is undeniably powerful. It pulls you in, like a strong current. Many people feel this magnetic pull. They yearn to see what is deliberately hidden from plain sight, to explore the uncharted. I confess I was one of those people drawn to the mystery. I heard stories, fragmented and sensational. Tales of hidden forums, clandestine marketplaces, and strange communities. A digital underworld operating entirely in shadows beyond normal reach. The very idea was both intensely thrilling and deeply terrifying. What truths, what unimaginable dangers were waiting there in the depths? I felt I had to know. My curiosity for a time outweighed my innate fear. It felt like setting out to explore a new uncharted digital continent. This, however, is not a place for casual digital tourists. It is not akin to browsing your usual social media or news websites. The dark web demands respect. It demands extreme caution and awareness. It operates as a different reality, an alternate digital dimension. It has its own unwritten rules, its own distinct, often unsettling culture. Ignoring these fundamental aspects can lead to serious, lasting trouble. Many individuals venture in unprepared, and they often pay a significant price for their naivety. I learned this lesson slowly and painfully. This essay, then, is my personal story. It details my journey into that hidden, often dangerous world, and crucially, it recounts my eventual escape from its grasp. Consider it a warning from someone who has navigated its corridors. It is a sharing of raw experience. I want to try and show you what I saw, the elements that were intriguing, the parts that were bad, and the aspects that were truly profoundly disturbing. So you can understand the inherent risks. So you can make informed, safer choices about your own online explorations. So what exactly is this dark web we hear so much about? The name itself sounds like something from a spy movie or a dystopian novel. In reality, it is a specific segment of the larger deep web. The deep web encompasses anything on the internet that is not indexed by standard search engines like Google or Bing. Think of your secure online banking portals, your private email inboxes, or confidential company databases. The dark web is a small, intentionally hidden part of that vast, unindexed space. It requires special software to access its contents. This special software, most commonly Tor, the onion router, works by anonymizing your internet connection. It achieves this by routing your internet traffic through a complex network of multiple servers or relays around the globe. This intricate process makes it very difficult to trace who you are. It also obscures where you are connecting from. This powerful anonymity is a true double-edged sword. It protects whistleblowers and activists in repressive states, but it also shields those with malicious or criminal intent. It creates a unique space for a wide spectrum of activities, both good and bad. Why does such a hidden part of the internet even exist? Interestingly, it wasn't initially created for criminal enterprises. Tor was originally developed by the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. Its purpose was to enable secure, anonymous communications for intelligence operatives. Today, activists, journalists, and ordinary citizens living under repressive regimes use it extensively. They need to communicate and share information without being watched or censored by their governments. It provides them with a vital voice. It helps them share truth with the outside world. This is the undeniably positive side of the dark web. However, this very same cloak of anonymity inevitably attracts darker elements. It hosts illegal marketplaces selling drugs, weapons, and stolen personal data. It provides forums for extremist groups to spread their ideologies. It contains websites sharing horrific, illegal, and deeply damaging content. This is the side of the dark web that most people rightly fear. And their fear is justified. It is a place where the worst aspects of humanity can fester and grow. Hidden from the eyes of the law, shielded from public view. This inherent duality is absolutely key to understanding its complex nature. Gaining access to the dark web is not as straightforward as typing a familiar web address into your browser. As I mentioned, you need the Tor browser. Downloading and installing this piece of software is, perhaps surprisingly, quite easy. Many guides and tutorials exist online, readily available on the regular, clear internet. This apparent accessibility can be dangerously misleading. It makes the initial step seem simple and harmless, but it is in fact opening a doorway to an incredibly complex and often perilous digital world. You must be aware of this from the start. Once the Tor browser is running and connected, you will notice your internet connection slows down considerably. This is a direct result of the complex rerouting process. Your data is bouncing through those multiple relays to ensure anonymity. Websites on the dark web do not end in familiar suffixes like .com or .org. Instead, they typically end in .onion. These onion addresses are usually long, confusing strings of random letters and numbers. You cannot simply guess them or browse to them easily. You generally find them through specialized directories, forums, or through word of mouth from other users. Directories on the dark web, which list various .onion sites, are themselves often hidden or difficult to find. Some resemble old-school internet portals like the early Yahoo. They present lists of links, often sorted into various categories of interest. However, a significant number of these links are dead, leading nowhere. Or more dangerously, they might lead to scam websites designed to steal your information or cryptocurrency, or they could lead to something far worse. Finding reliable, safe information and links is a constant, frustrating challenge. It's a digital game of cat and mouse, demanding continuous trust and suspicion. You learn very quickly not to click on every link you see. Beyond just using the Tor browser, many experienced users employ virtual private networks, VPNs, for an additional layer of security. Some go further, using specialized operating systems like Tails. Tails is designed to run from a USB stick and aims to leave no trace of your activity on the computer you use. These advanced precautions are often vital. The risks of being hacked, scammed, or having your device infected with malicious software are extremely high on the dark web. It's a constant technological arms race, a battle between maintaining security and anonymity versus those who seek to exploit vulnerabilities. You must be thoroughly prepared for this. The dangers lurking on the dark web are not just exaggerated stories or urban legends. They are very real and can have severe consequences. Malware such as viruses, spyware, and ransomware is absolutely everywhere. Clicking on a single wrong link or downloading an unsafe file can infect your computer. This can lead to data theft or system compromise. Hackers actively prowl these spaces, looking for vulnerable users. They want your personal information. They want access to your financial accounts or online identities. Financial ruin is a distinct possibility. Identity theft is another common and devastating outcome. These are not fears to be taken lightly. Then there are the pervasive scams that target unsuspecting users. Illicit marketplaces might promise to deliver goods that, after payment, never actually arrive. Individuals may offer services that are entirely fake, designed only to part you from your money. Cryptocurrency, such as Bitcoin, is often the preferred method of payment due to its perceived anonymity. This also makes it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to recover funds once they have been sent to a scammer. Trust is an extremely rare and fragile commodity in these environments. Everyone is inherently suspicious of everyone else. It's a fundamentally hostile environment, especially for newcomers. Scammers are often very sophisticated in their methods. Exposure to illegal, disturbing, and deeply offensive content is almost unavoidable when navigating the dark web. This can include child exploitation material, graphic gore, extreme violence, and hate speech. Things that can genuinely scar you mentally and emotionally. Even if you are not actively looking for such content, you can easily stumble upon it by accident. This is unequivocally one of the darkest and most damaging aspects of this hidden internet. It takes a significant toll on your psyche. It can change how you view the world and the people in it. The psychological impact of such exposure can be severe and long-lasting. Furthermore, it's crucial to remember that law enforcement agencies from around the world are also active on the dark web. They are constantly working to hunt down criminals and shut down illegal operations. They set up sophisticated sting operations. They monitor communications and infiltrate criminal forums. If you choose to engage in illegal activities on the dark web, you risk investigation and arrest. The cloak of anonymity provided by tools like Tor is not foolproof. Mistakes can be made, and digital trails can sometimes be followed. And the real-world consequences of being caught can be life-altering, including lengthy prison sentences. It's a high-stakes game of chance with the law. Section 5. My first encounters with the unseen. My very first login to the dark web felt incredibly strange, almost surreal. The Tor browser opened up on my screen. Visually, it looked much like a normal web browser, but it felt entirely different. It operated much slower, more deliberately. My clicks seemed to take longer to register. I found a link to a directory, a sort of starting point. The names of the listed sites were cryptic and vaguely menacing. The Hidden Wiki, Shadow Market, Deep Web Radio. I clicked on one cautiously. My heart was pounding in my chest. I felt like an intruder stepping into a forbidden secret zone. It was an undeniably eerie and unsettling feeling. I started my exploration by cautiously looking at various forums. People were discussing an incredibly wide array of topics. Some of the conversations were surprisingly mundane, almost boring, discussions about obscure coding problems, or deep philosophical debates. But many others were deeply unsettling from the outset. There were detailed discussions about computer hacking techniques. There were threads about how to obtain illegal items or substances. The language used was often heavily coded, filled with specific jargon and slang. It was like trying to learn a new, dark dialect on the fly. I was an outsider, an observer, listening in on conversations I perhaps shouldn't have been privy to. One of the first truly shocking things I encountered was a fully functional marketplace. It listed various categories of drugs I had only ever heard of in news reports. It also listed weapons, from small handguns to more serious armaments. Fake passports and driver's licenses were also for sale. It was all laid out with a disturbing efficiency, much like an Amazon or eBay for illegal goods and services. Prices were listed in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. There were even seller ratings and buyer reviews. This normalization of serious crime, this business-like approach to illicit trade, was profoundly disturbing to witness. It made these dangerous activities seem almost ordinary, which they certainly are not. I clearly remember stumbling upon a live chat room one evening. The conversation, which had started innocuously enough, turned dark very quickly. People began boasting about committing various illegal acts. They shared violent fantasies and espoused hateful extremist ideologies. The casual nature of their abhorrent comments was shocking. I closed the browser window as fast as I could. My hands were physically shaking from the experience. This wasn't just abstract danger anymore, read about in articles. These were real people, or at least real anonymous accounts expressing real, terrifying and hateful thoughts. That was my first true taste of the palpable darkness that resides there. Section 6. Echoes in the Darkness, Disturbing Interactions. As I spent more time navigating these hidden corners, I gradually grew bolder, or perhaps looking back it was more accurate to say I grew more foolish. I started to interact more directly with other users. I began asking questions on some of the forums I frequented. I was trying to understand the underlying culture, the motivations of the people there. This, I now realize, was a significant mistake. It drew attention to my presence. And not all attention on the dark web is good attention. Especially not there, where suspicion is the default state. I learned the hard way that anonymity is a fragile shield, easily probed by those with ill intent. I once initiated a private message conversation with someone who claimed to be a skilled hacker. I was genuinely curious about their technical skills. I wanted to understand their motivations for what they did. They replied to my messages, but their responses were often cryptic and evasive. Then, they started asking me seemingly personal questions. They were framed as innocent inquiries, but they felt intensely probing and uncomfortable. I quickly became scared that they were trying to dox me, that they were attempting to uncover my real identity and location. I cut off all contact immediately, but the fear from that interaction lingered for many days afterwards. Another time, I visited an Onion website that consisted of just a single start page. It displayed a large, ominous countdown timer slowly ticking down. Below the timer was a long, rambling manifesto. It was filled with violent, extremist rhetoric and vague threats. It promised some kind of disruptive event would occur when the timer reached zero. I had no way of knowing if it was real, or if it was an elaborate hoax designed to scare people, or perhaps it was a honeypot, set up by law enforcement. The profound uncertainty surrounding it was terrifying. The feeling of impending doom from that single webpage stayed with me for a long time. The craziest and most disturbing encounter involved stumbling into a forum where a group was discussing red rooms. These are the stuff of dark web urban legends. They are supposedly live, interactive streams of real torture and murder, accessible to paying viewers. Most security experts and researchers say they are fake, a persistent myth designed to scare newcomers and attract morbid curiosity. But the way these individuals discussed the topic, the sickening details they shared, their apparent genuine belief in their existence, it was utterly chilling. I couldn't sleep properly for nights after reading those threads. Real or not, the darkness and depravity it represented was overwhelming and deeply affecting. Section 7. The Weight of Shadows, Impact on the Mind. Spending any significant amount of time on the dark web inevitably changes you. It's not just about the specific things you see or read, it's the pervasive atmosphere, the constant gnawing suspicion of everyone and everything, the underlying paranoia that starts to color your perceptions. This feeling slowly, insidiously seeps into your real life beyond the screen. I started to trust people less in my daily interactions. I became noticeably more anxious, more on edge, more jumpy. The entire world began to feel like a darker, more threatening place. Even when I was completely offline, the shadows lingered. This was a slow, creeping and detrimental process. Sleep became increasingly difficult and unrefreshing. Nightmares became a frequent, unwelcome occurrence. Horrific images I had inadvertently seen, disturbing conversations I had read, they replayed in my mind without my consent. The anonymity of others on the dark web made me feel intensely vulnerable. Ironically, the anonymity I sought for myself by using Tor felt like a very thin, easily pierced veil. I often had the unsettling feeling that I was being watched, monitored. Even though I knew that was statistically unlikely for a casual browser, the feeling itself was powerful and distressing. It eroded my sense of security. My general mood noticeably soured during this period. I became more irritable with those around me. I found myself becoming more withdrawn from social situations. My friends started to notice a change in my behavior. My family members also expressed concern. I couldn't bring myself to explain where I was spending my online time, or what I was seeing and experiencing in those hidden corners. It became a secret burden that I carried alone, a heavy, oppressive weight on my soul. The sense of isolation grew steadily. It was a profoundly lonely journey into that digital darkness, and it was undeniably taking a serious toll on my mental health. There's a psychological concept known as secondary trauma or vicarious trauma. It's when you are traumatized not by direct experience but by witnessing or learning about someone else's trauma. I strongly believe this is a common experience for many dark web explorers. Even if you are not directly scammed, hacked, or threatened, the sheer volume of exposure to extreme negativity, depictions of violence, criminal plotting, and human despair leaves scars. It erodes your fundamental sense of safety in the world. It can chip away at your faith in humanity. It's a very heavy price to pay for unchecked curiosity. Section 8. The decision to surface escaping the depths. There wasn't one single dramatic moment that triggered my escape. It was more of a gradual, dawning realization. The initial thrill of exploration had long since vanished. It had been completely replaced by a persistent sense of dread, a deep feeling of disgust at what I was encountering. I came to understand that I wasn't learning anything truly valuable or constructive anymore. I was simply making myself miserable, anxious, and paranoid. The darkness I had sought to observe was now starting to consume me. I knew with growing certainty that I had to get out, for my own sanity, for my own future well-being and safety. The discussions I encountered about so-called red rooms were a significant turning point for me. The sheer, unadulterated depravity being discussed, whether it was real or merely imagined by those individuals, was too much to bear. I felt physically sick after reading those threads. I realized then that I was willingly placing myself in a digital space that no healthy mind should inhabit. A place that seemed to celebrate the very worst aspects of human nature. This wasn't brave exploration anymore. This was a form of digital self-harm. I understood that I had to make a conscious choice. I had to choose the light. I had to choose to save myself. Technically, getting out of the dark web wasn't hard at all. I uninstalled the Tor browser from my computer. I meticulously deleted all my saved Onion bookmarks. I shredded any notes I had taken, but emotionally and psychologically, it was a much tougher process than I anticipated. There was a definite period of withdrawal, a lingering sense of paranoia that took weeks to fade, a persistent, irrational fear that something or someone from that world might follow me back into my real life. I had to consciously and actively work to reprogram my mind, to focus on positive thoughts and activities, to reconnect with the tangible, real world around me. I made the important decision to start talking to a therapist about my experiences. This was absolutely crucial for my recovery. Admitting what I had done, what I had seen and been exposed to, was difficult, but it helped immensely to process the entire experience in a safe and supportive environment. It allowed me to understand its profound impact on my mental state. It wasn't easy to share these things. There was a lot of shame involved. There was a fear of being judged for my curiosity, but it was an absolutely necessary step towards healing, towards reclaiming my mental peace and my sense of self. Section 9. Reclaiming the Light, a Guide to Safer Surfing. My escape from the dark web taught me many valuable lessons. Lessons about the hidden sides of the internet, and important lessons about myself, my curiosity, and my vulnerabilities. The dark web is not a game. It is not an exciting digital playground. It is a genuinely dangerous frontier, full of real risks. If you are curious about it, please take the time to truly understand those risks before you even consider venturing there. They're not exaggerated for effect. The potential for serious harm to your devices, your finances, and especially your mental health is immense. Your mental well-being is precious. Protect it fiercely at all costs. For safer internet use in general on the clear web we all use daily, there are basic but vital steps. Always use strong, unique passwords for all your different online accounts. Enable two-factor authentication wherever it is offered. Be extremely wary of suspicious links in emails or messages, and be cautious about downloads from untrusted sources. Keep all your software, including your operating system and browser, regularly updated. Use a reputable antivirus program and keep its definitions current. These are fundamental digital hygiene practices, but they make a significant difference in protecting you. They are your first and most important line of defense against many common online threats. Think carefully before you click on anything. Think even more carefully before you share personal information online. Be constantly mindful of your digital footprint. What you post online, even in what seems like a private setting, can often stay there forever, or be shared without your consent. Protect your personal information diligently. Don't overshare details about your life on social media platforms. Maintain a healthy skepticism of strangers you encounter online. Remember that not everyone is who they claim to be. This advice applies just as much to the clear web as it does to the murky depths of the dark web. If you, or someone you know, is struggling with the aftermath of dark web exposure, please seek help. Don't suffer in silence. Talk to a trusted friend who will listen without judgment. Confide in a family member. Reach out to a mental health professional who can provide guidance and support. You are not alone in this experience. Sharing your story when you are ready can be a powerful part of the healing process. It can also serve as a valuable warning to others. Let's try to create a culture of greater awareness about these hidden dangers. Let's support each other in navigating the complexities of the digital world safely. My story is one of escape, and I sincerely hope it encourages others to prioritize their safety or find their own way out of the shadows.